What's going on, Mason? What's going on, George Mason University?
What's up, George Mason University?
What's going on, George Mason University? We're back. Double ball!
David Bernard.
I'm Perry Buckley.
Lindsay Hokinson.
And I'm DeMonte Shaw.
What's going on, George Mason University? Welcome back inside the press box. I'm David Bernard.
I'm Lindsay Hokinson.
And I'm Nathan LaPierre, making my debut.
Yes, Nathan making his debut, Lindsay making a return. And for the second week in a row, the Patriot is back. It's like a regular guest now. How you feeling? Alright, yeah. No, we're going to talk about basketball. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Alright, so guys, we start with the good news, the bad news. I think we know what the bad news is.
Let's just get it out of the way.
Get it out the way? Yeah. Alright, so the bad news, if you do not know, which I'm pretty sure you do if you've watched the show and paid attention to Mason Sports, our basketball teams are in a rough
struggle.
A struggle. Where do we start? What's the issues going on with both our teams right now?
I mean, obviously you're winless, so there's a lot of things going on. But I think the women's coach said it best this week in their post-game interview that they just don't know how to win right now. And I think that's important. If you're not getting any wins, your team isn't used to getting wins, you're not used to closing out games, it's going to be really hard to win close games. And especially, I mean, this week they were up by 12 at one point in their game. And when you're just not used to closing out a game, when you're used to always trailing, when you're used to trying to play catch up, when you're up, it's hard to win games. And until they get into a habit of winning, or at least get one under their belt, the same thing with the men's team, it's going to be really hard to find the experience to get it done.
Definitely closing out games, I think, is an issue we've seen all season with especially the men's team. Obviously we took UMass, they beat us by 1 point. We took St. Louis to overtime. Those are extremely good teams, so obviously we can play at a high level. But closing out games has not been our specialty. And then we play a team like Dayton that's not even that good, and we had a rough game.
Just inconsistency.
Yeah.
And
inconsistency.
It's killer. It's killer in any college sport. If you don't have consistency,
absolutely.
I mean, you can't even build on it. Even if you're consistent and you're losing games, but you're getting better.
Yeah.
But we're not, like you said, we're competing with good teams and losing to bad teams, and it's just there's got to be something changed.
Yeah, it's sort of that playing up to the competition, playing down to the competition type thing. But it's frustrating because for those games that you mentioned, I mean, we're leading at the half or right there at the half. Second half, we're turning the ball over. We have stagnant offense. There's no ball movement. Nobody's moving around, getting out rebounded, and again, it just factors into not knowing how to win, not being able to close out games.
George Washington's a great example.
Absolutely. Tale of two halves. I mean, and it has to do with experience, obviously, but at the same time, it has to do with coaching and discipline, and those experienced guys, the veteran guys, Sherrod Wright, really feeding in, and Brian Allen, feeding into the team that turnovers aren't acceptable. Turnovers are killing us. Same kind of thing when we bring a full court press, you got to bring a press, you know, and we've been giving easy points because we're bringing a press, but we're bringing it halfway. We're coming in, Brian Allen's covering the one player, and then they're beating our press and getting an easy 2 points. And they're scoring a lot of points off of turnovers and a lot of easy points on press breaks. So we've got to figure it out. I mean, you've got to bring a defense that's going to make stops and going to keep you in games, and right now we're not.
Yeah. And again, like you said, that goes back into all the players buying in and committing.
Absolutely.
You can't have one or two guys on the court deciding that they want to play defense, play tough, and then the rest of the guys just lay back. Like you said, that gives them easy 2 points. And I mean, defensively, you see that where that hurts us, not being able to get any production offensively, and on the other end, turnovers, that's just killing us. So you just can't win that way. You can't win it all that way. So I mean, we could talk about Mason basketball all day for a good while. We could have a whole episode, a whole segment on it. But maybe we should switch over to some good news, and we're gonna shout out the track and field team, who has absolutely been doing their thing recently. Want to definitely give a shout out to freshman Chantel Richardson for being the A10 Rookie of the Week last week. So congratulations to you, and congratulations to the men's and women's track team. Last week at the Patriot games, they both took the top spots, respectively, and the men's team finished nearly 100 points in front of the second place team. So clearly been dominating it, doing their thing. You have an invitational coming up. Definitely also want to shout out senior Mendisa Marshall, who took the pole vault title in each of the 4 meets that she's competed in recently.
She broke a fieldhouse record actually at the Patriot Games. She set a new record, which isn't anything surprising for Mendisa. I mean, she's been breaking records since she started here.
Exactly.
Nothing new for her.
Yeah. So definitely want to make sure that we shout out those that are doing well. We talked about the bad, so definitely want to talk about the good. So definitely keep it up to the men's and women's track team as always. I mean, if you watch the show, you know how much we love the track and field team, and just they've been consistently doing well, you know, every single year, and we know they're going to keep it up. We know they're going to have a wonderful season this year. We're definitely go out and support them when you can and when they're here. And then let's talk about volleyball.
Yeah, absolutely. Another success story at the moment.
Yes.
More good news.
Looking for 5 straight this coming weekend. Finally going to see some competition.
Mm-hmm.
Their first match they took on Ohio State. Beginning of the season, they lost in 3 straight sets, but they competed.
Mm-hmm.
Then they lost the next one in Arizona, I think, to Grand Canyon. Played the same team a night later and beat them. And so since then they've gone on a 4-game win streak. They've won 4 straight, 3 of those at home against a team in UPR who wasn't, up to our standards. So tonight they take on Ball State, a 15th ranked team, and that's going to be a little bit more their style. I mean, the beauty of the season so far for them is that they've been able to give a lot of guys experience. This past weekend they played a team, like I said, that wasn't as good as we are, and so they were able to get in a lot of non-starters, give them some good time. And so now, we can bring out the best of the best and really start to play against a team that's gonna take our best. And I'm looking forward to this season for volleyball, mainly because I think it's gonna be a very Louisville-like year where they're playing with some emotion behind them, and I think that can really drive a team to success. You're talking about when you're playing for a teammate, a fallen teammate, you've got nothing but a huge chip on your shoulder, and that's how the volleyball team is playing. And this year they're playing with aggression. They've got a whole new squad of starters, and they look great. So I'm looking forward to really seeing what they can do starting tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely exciting. I think definitely all year, if you look at our results on the volleyball team, you can see a strong kind of home court advantage. So I'm excited to see what we can do against Ball State, a ranked team, like you said, 15th in the nation. And in our own rack, I think we have a good shot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And again, more good news. I definitely want to make sure we keep shouting out the good news. And also now spring sports are starting to kick up and starting, they're practicing, about to start getting their season underway. Both the baseball and lacrosse teams are projected from the coaches poll. Again, these are projections. Now we talk about projections, but they're both scheduled to finish 5th in the A10, both this year. So what do we think about, real quick, I guess, the upcoming spring sports seasons? How are baseball teams looking? Lacrosse, softball?
Yeah, I mean, again, you're talking about teams with a chip on their shoulder. Last year, switching conferences when we did, eliminated them from playoff contention in their sports respectively, and so this year, I think they're coming ready to compete.
Yeah, with the vengeance.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're talking about juniors or sophomores who didn't get a chance last year at all to even have a chance.
Yep.
And so now, in a new conference, new teams, a lot of new players, and I think they're coming in with an excitement that this is going to be their year.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we definitely want to support all of our athletes. Especially the ones that are doing well. We definitely want to support them and show them that we appreciate them. You guys got a homecoming game next week?
I think just for the sake of it, but I mean, hey, it takes one game to turn it around, and what better game to turn it around than when the whole school's there, right?
Exactly.
So I mean, our team thrives under the glory of home support, and so I'm hoping that when you bring out half the school, that they're gonna actually show up. But it's been a tough year, and it's gonna be a tough season. But I think the women's basketball team plays tomorrow in their Women in Sports Day and their pink game last year. They beat William & Mary with a buzzer beater that day. So I think there's good vibes. I'm feeling good about the women's basketball game tomorrow. So hopefully we can start turning the season around before it gets a little too late.
Hopefully.
Definitely. I feel good. I feel all right about the homecoming game. St. Bonaventure, I think, is a beatable team. We've shown we can compete against any team. So I definitely agree with the emotional strength behind that game. I think we have a couple winnable games against Duquesne coming up, so I'm excited for the future.
So either way, make sure you come out and support. I mean, it's homecoming, so again, just as you said, Lindsay, just having that home, everybody being out there, having that home court advantage, I should say. So definitely make sure you come out and support. And George Mason University, don't go anywhere. This is the Press Box. Be right back. Welcome back, George Mason University, inside the Press Box. And you guys want to talk some pro sports?
Yeah.
Pro sports? All right.
Let's do it.
So this past weekend there was, I think there was a game going on. The Super Bowl, I think that's what they call it.
There was a halftime show.
It was.
A game around.
There was. Bruno Mars was pretty good. I like that.
Best part of the night.
Right?
It's entertaining.
Yep.
So I guess being a sports show, sports fans, I guess we have to talk about the game.
We're obligated by contract.
Yeah, I think we got to do it. So, like you said, we'll talk about the Super Bowl as long as the game lasted, which was about 12 seconds.
When the ball went over Peyton Manning's shoulder and the game was over.
There went the game.
Yeah.
So the Super Bowl this year was blank. Oh, by the way, this is our Word Up segment, making this return. It's been about a semester since we brought it back, so we're bringing it back. Super Bowl this year was blank.
So disappointing. I know that's 2 words, but disappointing just doesn't say enough. I, as a huge football fan, look forward to Super Bowl all year long. And when my team doesn't make it, which is the Philadelphia Eagles, which hopefully will make it next year, all I want is a good game. That's all I want. I want some good football, and I was really excited this year. It's in a football city. It's outside, real elements, which ended up being lukewarm. But,
right.
I mean, regardless. And it turns out that, the Broncos don't even show up. And it was just... It really was. The only reason I was watching it is because I had to watch for a class. So, I mean, that's frustrating when I'm watching the Super Bowl out of obligation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the Super Bowl was lame. Same basic idea. Of course, we're all disappointed with the Super Bowl. Obviously, my team wasn't in it, the Redskins. We're going to make it next year. But,
we can dream.
Yeah, we can dream. Definitely, the Broncos were just shut down the whole game. I mean, obviously they had the nerves getting to them. They had the early safety, but they just never got anything going. Their running game was shut down, and that in turn messed up their passing game. The Legion of Boom was not a joke. They sent the message early and often. So Russell Wilson was never under any pressure. I think Peyton Manning was under a lot of pressure to fulfill his legacy, and just the Broncos did not play their best ball, and it was just disappointing to watch. Definitely.
I mean, you have one touchdown off turnover, another one off of a kick return. I mean, and when Peyton Manning's not even, when the Seahawks defense is hardly even getting tested.
Exactly.
I mean, it was disappointing because they were talking up, the top-ranked offense and top-ranked defense, and they went 3 and out. They went 3 and out all the way until halfway through the second quarter. So,
I mean, it seemed like they knew Seattle knew almost every single thing Peyton was going to do, or the Broncos were going to do in general.
Yep.
And they just lacked that intensity. I mean, you could clearly see the Seahawks brought it. They brought that intensity, that fire, and you look on the other sideline, and everybody just has their heads down. They're missing tackles, and it was frustrating. I mean, as a football fan, as you said, just having to watch the game. I mean, I think the only reason I continued to watch the game because I knew it was going to be the last football game for the next 7 months or so. So I was like, well, I guess I'm obligated to watch it because it's the last one.
Let's see how many points they'll score.
Right, exactly. Right, see if they break some all-time record or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, 8 points. This is the highest scoring offense
in history.
And you must start. I don't care what defense you're playing. 8 points
in the Super Bowl. 8 points.
In Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, the Seahawks defense scored more points than that themselves.
Yeah.
They had a touchdown and a safety. So I don't know. It's I would definitely say, as a nation, and I'm sure the advertisers were not happy because those fourth quarter advertisers guarantee you their viewing Raiders ratings weren't quite as good as those first quarter ones because after that kick return at the beginning of the second half, the game was over.
Super Bowl ads were disappointing too. So
the whole thing was just
it was just a letdown. Sad. Luckily, if they didn't have Bruno Mars, it might not been something to remember at all.
Yeah.
But
thank you, Bruno Mars.
Yeah, thank you. So our talk lasted as long as the game did. Hopefully next year will be better. So let's talk about the Super Bowl champs real quick, the Seattle Seahawks, and we know how tough it is based on recent history to repeat as Super Bowl champions.
Or to even get in the playoffs.
Or even get in the playoffs, yeah, exactly, because of whether it may be, I don't know, Super Bowl hangover or salary cap, free agents, all that, whatever the factors may be. But the Seahawks' chances of repeating as Super Bowl champs next year are blank.
Decent would be my. I mean, it would be tough to look at the game and say that they're not going to be a team that's looking to repeat next year when they so dominated the Super Bowl. I mean, they didn't have quite as easy of a task in the NFC playoff run, which you would expect. But when you're talking about the best of the best facing the best of the AFC, supposedly you should be looking at a closer game. And so, with it not being close, the toughest thing the Seahawks are going to have to do is get out of the NFC again. And I think any AFC team at this point, even the Patriots, even the Broncos, are looking at an uphill battle.
Yeah.
I would say it's plausible, definitely. Like you said, it's very difficult to repeat as Super Bowl champs. But I think the best 4 teams made it to the conference finals. So I think if you're looking for your heavy contenders next year, definitely the Seahawks, definitely the 49ers. That was a very good game, the Seahawks 49ers. Broncos are still going to be around Patriots. So you never know. It's very difficult to repeat. But as far as chances go for recent champions, I definitely think they have a pretty good shot. I think they're retaining most of their pieces. They have a winning formula, obviously. So it's definitely plausible.
I think their average age is something like 22 or 23, and I mean they're super young. Yeah, I mean they're looking at a great future. You're not talking about an aging team like the Patriots were a couple years ago, who are coming back with a lot of vets. So I think and you've got a lot of dangerous weapons, not just weapons, but dangerous weapons. Russell Wilson, Percy Harvin had a fantastic game after not playing for quite a while. Exactly. And so I mean when you've got guys like that who can step up and make such an impact, I definitely say there's something to watch out for.
Yeah. I'd say that, their chances are good. Just like some of the things you guys said, it's always hard for a team even to make it back to the playoffs. And you never know what can happen with injuries and everything that could happen during the course of a season. But if there's any team over the past few years that can repeat or make it back to the playoffs and repeat as champions, I think it's them because of their young roster and it's all the pieces that they do have. So let's move on to. It's never too early to talk about Super Bowl predictions for next year. So, do we have any early predictions for the Super Bowl next year? Hopefully, I'm predicting it will be a better game than it was this year. I can't really get any worse than that.
I think we can predict that.
We can go down a limb on that one.
Yeah. You mentioned Nathan. I think the 49ers are, again, another team who's young, looking to come back and compete for the next couple of years. I'm hoping the Eagles finally get our act together and put together a team that can get past, that first round. We let slip to the Saints, who then got crushed by the 49ers. So, it's just, I'm hoping, on the NFC side, I do think the 49ers, the Seahawks, I'm hoping the Eagles can be competitive again. The AFC side, you're typically looking. the Chargers looked good this year, which was surprising. But I don't know that they're Super Bowl worthy quite yet. I do think you always have to look. Always have to keep the Patriots in mind once they get their offense sorted and if Gronk comes back healthy, things like that. Because they're a very tight end-centered offense, and once you lose your tight ends, Peyton Manning kind of got a little bit lost there. Tom Brady, sorry. It's tough on the AFC side. It's tough looking for somebody who's going to emerge. So.
Definitely, as far as Super Bowl predictions, like I said before, I think the best 4 teams made it, so those are teams you have to look out for. You touched on earlier the age of the Seahawks. That's a young team. The Patriots, believe it or not, were the second youngest team this year, so they definitely have a lot of young players that are improving. They had Will Fork out the entire year. Mayo was out the entire year. Will Fork's backup, Tommy Kelly, was out the entire year. So, their offense was decimated. Their entire team was decimated.
Yeah.
So, that's definitely a team to look out for. Broncos are going to be strong contenders again. 49ers, Seahawks, some combination of those 4 teams, I think, will make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and for the sake of being redundant, I agree.
Yeah.
Also, look out for the Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers come back for full season. He finally has a running game, Eddie Lacy.
Yeah.
And they've been lacking a running game ever since Rodgers took over, and you saw how dangerous they could be with that running game.
Right.
So definitely the 4 teams you guys mentioned, and I'll definitely say look out for the Packers, another team in the top-heavy NFC East. So let's move on real quick to, of course, the Olympics, 2014 Winter Games. coming up, and we just want to real quick just shout that out. And yeah, I'm looking forward to. You guys looking forward to anything in particular?
Curling, definitely.
I agree.
I actually like those brutal, really long skiing races that are like miles and miles. It's so intense.
And of course, hockey always
Yep.
is
Hockey,
super
of course.
good in the Olympics.
Yeah. Well, it's I think good talk for today, guys. Thanks, Nathan. How does it feel to be
It feels great. It feels great to be next to the Patriot head here.
Yeah,
Excited.
2 weeks in a row. And how does it feel to be back, Lindsay?
Feels great. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. And George Mason University, as always, Vanda Bernard.
Lindsay Hokinson.
Nathan LaPierre.
And for the Patriot, press on, George Mason. Press on.